Okay, this is that actually, although it says Honda there, that's a lifan 110 semi-automatic, and as you can see on the top there, that's electric start. Now to swap them, this had the original Honda C90 engine in. Very simple, straight swap really. Disconnect the carburetor, just the 2 bolts there, move that to one side so you can reuse that, and then underneath disconnect the 2 bolts for the exhaust, remove the exhaust, that can be reused. This here is the stator cover. I took the stator cover off the Honda, put it direct fit. All these studs are exactly the same. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 studs. 4 studs there. Take that off, put the new one on. I actually swapped my stator over just because it's on different connectors, so I put my Honda stator in here. It went straight on, but to be fair, it was the same as the pit bike one. Disconnect your cover, and under there is your sprocket, 2 bolts. Take your sprocket out. The new lifan comes with the sprocket, but it's a smaller sprocket, so remove that and put your Honda C90 sprocket back on in place. You disconnect this. This would normally be a block connector. Disconnect the block connector and the wires from the horn. Disconnect those. Everything else. Oh, and your fuel line. No, in fact, actually, you can leave your fuel line attached because your carb's stopping in place. Right, we'll go round the other side. Around the other side. Let me just flick this light on. Right, on this side, we would disconnect your HT lead. Your carburetor's out of the way. You need to disconnect the wires off the back of the starter, just two cables. And that is pretty much it, I believe. Oh, I swapped this cover. This is the Honda cover. Again, all these bolts line up. The only thing I had to do differently, because the lifan one has a slightly different top here. When you take this off, underneath is a little triangular piece with 3 ball bearings for your clutch. You'd have to swap the lifan one for that one. It's just a case of both engines on the side with this facing upwards, makes it easier. Undo the studs on both, take them off, and just exchange that triangle piece for the one on the lifan one, and pop all this back. To adjust your clutch, you'd wind it all the way in till you start to get a little bit of resistance, then wind it all the way back, and as soon as you get a little bit of resistance, turn it back 1/8 of a turn with the slotted screw and nip the nut up. Very easy. There's plenty of videos on how to set that up. Right, next, bolt there and a bolt down there. You have to lift those springs off, remove those 2 bolts, and this engine your C90 engine will drop out. Lift your 110 engine back in, push this bolt through, tighten them up. Reconnect your exhaust, bolt your carburetor on the top. It comes with a spark plug, but it's a bit of a shitty one, so I put a new iridium plug in. Get around there. That's better. Popped a new iridium plug in there, bolted your carburetor back on, reconnect the wires from the stator. Now the oil that is in it, people think you can use that for running in. Don't. Drain the oil. Underneath here, you can see the stud that's pointed directly down. That's your oil drain. This one at the back, that's actually for your timing chain adjuster. It's a little plunger. It's not that one. It's this one. You undo it, drain all the oil out. Once all the oil's out, pop that back and top up your oil with some good quality 1040. Must be motorcycle oil. When you test the oil, all you need to do is drop that into there, lift it out, and take your reading. Don't screw it in and screw it out to test it. It's not done like that. The kickstart, which is here, you can see it's got a bend in it. That's the original Honda one. I had to reuse that one. The lifan one comes straight, and it would actually catch on this cover. So, pop your exhaust back on, pop that on. You will have to put your footrest back on. That's the reason for changing the covers. As you can see, this cover here has a gap, whereas the lifan one doesn't, so the foot pegs won't fit. So that's why you change this cover, just so you've got that. Again, Regarding the clutch, you don't have to, you can leave it as is, but I prefer to do it like that. To swap this cover, just made it easier for that. So, you need to swap it because you need that gap. So that's as exhaust back on, as carburetor's bolted back on. We put the HT lead back in with a new spark plug. Pop your kickstart back on. And back round the other side. Round, 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 round. Put the original Honda sprocket back on, the 2 bolts and the cover back in. You've got the stator back on. Connect your, they look burnt but they're not, actually it's just the plastic fitting. Put your 2 connectors on there. The lifan one, find it. The lifan one came with this. The lifan one came with this connector. I unbolted it. It's just the same thing, it's just ridiculously long. I unbolted it and I put my connector back on there. So that's that one, and that's the earth. Fuel back in and back on. All original carburetor, even not had to change any cabling, airbox, anything. The shift lever is, as you know, on the Honda runs like this. It's toe and heel. Doesn't fit with my foot pegs anyway. It doesn't fit, so I've had to use the lifan one. The lifan one is all the way down to the bottom is neutral, then up once, first, second, third, fourth gear, back down, third, second, first, back to neutral. It's still semi-automatic, and when you're changing between third and second, if you're going uphill on the Honda, it's a nightmare. It revs the tits out of it, and just used to do my head in. So I've changed to the 4-speed. I will never go back to the Honda engine. So much better. You just seem to have a gear for everything you need, whereas on the original C90 you don't. I think that's pretty much everything covered. Yep, obviously tension your chain. Yep, that's everything covered. So I would say to take the old one out took me 20 minutes because it's literally 2 engine mountings, the carb off, the exhaust off, and disconnect the wires. Drop that out, put your full pegs back on. Putting it back probably took me an hour because I swapped the 2 casings and I changed my stator, which I haven't got to do, but I changed my stator. Reconnect the carb, reconnect the exhaust, reconnect the wires, change the oil and fire it up. Brilliant. Best thing I've ever done on my C90. Hope this helps somebody.